G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
Oh yeah, Sunday night, right here, Sunday night. I'm ready. I don't know about you. How the hell is everybody tonight? Beautiful day in Southern California today. Beautiful day. Unfortunately, I wasn't one of them who got to enjoy it. It's a work day. But it was a beautiful day coming in and out of the car. I hope you get to enjoy each and every day. Because as I get older, I learned that every day is a gift. There's no doubt about that. We take a lot of things for granted, and I am truly grateful. And I'm grateful for this show, and I'm grateful for you for being here. Let's all take a moment. I want to share this show. Don't forget to share. Share, share, share. That sound's coming up right now. Share the show with your friends. You never know who may need to be seeing this stuff because I promise you, we're sharing stories, and everybody's got a story. Hang on. There we go. Everybody's got a story, and what may not be important to you could be detrimental for others. Exhibit A. Tonight, we're going to have a great show. Talk about, I'm only going to tell you for a second, then we'll touch on it real quick. Here comes the sound. That means we're starting. Have a seat. Get yourself an adult beverage. We're ready to rock. Don't forget, subscribe. YouTube. We're still building on that. Hey, Pete. Hey, Paul. All right, the comments are starting. I hope. Sometimes you guys are shy. Sometimes you're not. Depends what gets your motor going. Everything look okay, Paul? He's my remote lurker. That's right. One of the many, and I'm grateful for all of you. But subscribe to YouTube. I'm still going to, keep going regardless of whether they pull me down or not. I have faith that they're not going to be pissed off all the time at me. But subscribe to YouTube. Easiest way right now. You can comment live, too. If you're on YouTube and you subscribe, you can comment live because I'm going to have on the show in just a few short minutes the foster care lady, Miss Cheryl Williams. There's another lurker that's back. Welcome back, Madam Lurker. Gail. I like that. I'm glad you're back. Anyway, they got Cheryl Williams going to be on in a few minutes. We're going to talk about foster care because if anybody knows me well enough, you know I love children. Kids are resilient. They have strength about them beyond most adults. Kid can be crying and then 15 minutes later they put it all behind them. Not me. I tend to carry stuff as I've gotten older. It doesn't roll off me as easily, but they continue to have hope and faith. So tonight we're going to have the foster care. We're going to talk about foster care. Cheryl Williams is going to be on in her organization, but we'll get into that a little deeper in a couple of minutes. Last week, I had author Jennifer Irwin on the show. She was a trip. I think that writers normally are because you got to have a wicked imagination and or go through some stuff to pull from the truth, which she had both. And Jennifer has, she was releasing her new book, ironically, last Sunday on the night that she was on this show. And it's called Address the Color of the Moon, a sequel from her first novel, Address the Color of the Sky. So it was a continuation. But she was great fun. She's very open and very candid. And, Paul. I like that because we share stories. We do. I mean, everything is very important to me, and it's about being open and being willing to come forth to talk about sometimes the uncomfortable things, but you have no idea how many people you might be reaching, because I know from experience there's so many people that are so reclusive, and they start self-destructing because they think it's only them and they don't know how to express themselves and to talk about things. And I'm not one of them. I'll just let off the steam. But a lot of people, that's the way they are. And then they start to self-destruct from within. And that's really bad. So I hope that we're doing some good here by sharing. And that's why I'm asking you guys to share. It's so important to share this stuff, because you don't know. You could have close friends that are just, they just don't want to talk about things. You know they're going through something, and then they implode. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Anyway, I love you all for all tuning in. What else I got going on here? Oh, boy. You know, so I told myself I wasn't going to rant. Usually, you know, even though I have a guest on tonight, I'll bitch about something before the show starts. And I said I wasn't going to rant tonight. And I'm not. I swear. But I'd like to just talk just give me one little. I just want to rant about one little thing, because on the way today, just one little rant. It's not even a rant. It's going to be a bitch. I want to bitch about one thing, and then I'll save all the rest for when I start really going off when I do a show by myself, because I got a lot of stuff to bitch about. Life with Peter G. Hi, I'm Peter G. Oh, boy. All right. I want to talk about one thing. So I needed gas today, fuel for my automobile. I don't understand what the hell is going on here, but I'm going to be reaching the $5 a gallon point real soon. $5 a gallon. In some places, I'm getting pictures people are sending. In some places, it's already past that. My question is, because I'm pissed off and I'm yelling about it, and I'm going to yell about it. My question is, when the hell is everybody else going to stop just taking this shit and start saying, you know, what the hell? We were fine. We're buying oil from other parts of the world when we had our own. I don't get it. There's no clean, green, mean, sheen deal in that. There's not. The stuff's got to come across an ocean. Let's go, Brandon. That's right. Let's go. That's right. Yeah, don't let me. I got the. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense to me, and it's pissing me off. And I'm wondering when everybody's going to stop laying down, because here's what's going to happen, people. It's going to break your pocketbook. That, along with the other things that are going on. I told you I only was going to talk about one thing real quick, because I really want to get Cheryl on. We're going to talk. It's going to be a great night tonight. But one thing is going to break your pocketbook. You might have a gas-mising car or whatever, but if you're spending $40 more, $70 more, $100 more a month, it's $100 more a month. And it's going to hurt. $2.79 in Florida. Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? No, because it should be $1.79, right? I get it. It's going to get worse. I don't see them cutting back, turning back. There's no end in sight until we're all down on our knees, and that's what they really want. So everybody's got to start screaming. You got to take your stance on not only this, but everything else, or we're in deep shit. More deep shit. Deep shitter. Just saying. Because I'll remind you real quick. Here, watch this. Now you got, okay, I'm breaking my own rule, but check it out. All over the country. I'm not going to keep playing it because it can go on and on. It's happening more and more places, everywhere, every event. I'm not doing this. I'm just talking. Okay, I'm done. Just a public service reminder, because it's important for you and for me and our children. Everybody, without further ado, Cheryl, you ready? Shake your head for me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, from halfway across the country, right here into your living room, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the foster care lady, Miss Cheryl Williams.
Hi, Bliss.
Ta-da! How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. We talked a few minutes prior to the show, as I do with everybody. But again, I don't know if you came across. I don't even know how you came across Facebook. I do a lot of scouring off of Facebook. But the thing was, you really came across my table, and foster care is such a vital. We don't think about it a lot. I don't think a lot of people think about this, and that's why it struck me. All of a sudden, a light went off in my head, and it doesn't happen very often. And it was like, we need to talk about foster care because this goes on every single day, and that's why I have you on the show to talk about this. So, first of all, you're labeled the foster care lady. Tell me how this all started and how it came about.
Okay, so when I was actually started on a road trip up to Wisconsin, and I was meaning to just visit my foster mama. I was never formally adopted, but she's my mama in my heart. And I was just planning on visiting with her, take my kids to go meet grandma pretty much. And I ended up finding on the spontaneous trip all this stuff to do. But I have this Miss Runner-Up for Wisconsin is a really good friend of mine, and she was actually supporting my nonprofit as part of her thing. But anyways, when I was even in Wisconsin, I ended up finding out that they knew me already. Like, oh yeah, a friend of my friend told me to check it out. I got connected to other foster care nonprofits while I was in Wisconsin then, and then yeah, I'm hanging out with the beauty pageant people in Wisconsin who some of them were in foster care, the ones that won. I think it was Mrs. Wisconsin. It's just amazing. Like, we're all just like had everything in common, me and these beauty pageant people. And anyways, with the people that ran the nonprofit, especially, were told that they should look me up as they wanted to start a foster care nonprofit. And so I realized even when I'm out of state, people are just knowing me as the foster care lady. But then I came back right after I visited with the group home. I was doing a backyard barbecue with them. And I had just posted on the nonprofit page. It has about the same amount of followers as yours. And somebody had seen that I was going to go and pick up these things that the group home kids said that they, could encourage them in the career dreams. And they were like, oh my God, you know who I ran into? She's like on the phone and she's like, it's the foster care lady. And I'm sure the other person has no clue who I am. But she's just like, yeah, you see her face. She's like all over Facebook and stuff. And I'm just so excited. Oh my God, it's the foster care lady. And so, yeah, as soon as I got back in, I was just like, nationwide, I'm convinced I'm the foster care lady. So I embraced it.
That's not a bad thing to be. I mean, at least people, that it's kind of catchy. I mean, with me, it's just little old me. But I mean, the foster care lady, that's not such a bad branding because you are all about foster care, correct?
Yes, I am. And I have been all my life. I mean, people when I was 17 knew that that's when I decided that this was going to be my life mission. So I've been talking about how are we going to help foster kids like every day of my life since I've been 17. So it gets on people's nerves. But I'm definitely the foster care lady to everybody.
Wow. Okay, because again, now you didn't know. Let's put it this way: nobody just comes off growing up going, you know what? I want to do foster care. There has to be a spark, something that sets you off, that sets you for the cause. I mean, people who do fundraising for breast cancer because they had relatives, mothers that or something, sisters, cousins, best friends that had breast cancer. So, I mean, foster care is kind of the same thing. You don't think about it a lot, but there's a lot of kids that need good homes that are parentless, correct?
Yes, there is over 500,000 that go through the foster care system every single year.
Okay, so how do these kids end up like that? What is it? I mean, how do they end up without parents? Give me the good and the bad. I mean, people need to hear this for what it is.
Abuse, neglect, their parents died. Sometimes it's temporary, sometimes it's permanent, but the parents have a year to go through all the hoops and things that the courts want them to get their act together, pretty much to get their kids back. And then if they lose their rights, then they usually try to find kinship. So they look up family trees and everything and try to place them with family. But sometimes about 23% of the time, it's actually the foster families that will adopt. But about 40 something percent goes to kinship usually at that point. It's just not actually the most common for them to be reunified with their actual parents.
What? Okay, but on average, because I'm sure you kind of know, I don't want numbers, I don't care, but the thing is, on average, I mean, I know, believe me, I know within my own circle and family and things like that, the parents were on drugs. They were drug abusers. Is it?
I was going to
Is
say, I
it
think it's about 60% are drug abusers, kids who go
really?
into foster care. Yeah.
That is so sad. I mean, and to let your own child, I mean, 'cause I don't know, because again, through my divorce, I fought long and hard and gave up practically everything just to make sure I was going to be there. Now, I can't think for anybody else, but for myself, is like, I just can't imagine letting go of your own flesh and blood, but it happens all the time. I mean, just to let them
Right.
go.
Like often it is drugs that's really sad. Like I knew a woman who was the most popular girl in high school, and she had a kid with the most popular kid in high school that was a football player, and they were both healthy, beautiful people, and then they fried their brains with like embalming oil dipped in, I don't know my drugs, but something that just absolutely fried her brain. And it was just so sad because there wasn't really hope, for her really getting her kids back, and she didn't even really know what was going on, but she couldn't supervise her kids properly, and she actually got her kids taken away for terrorism. She was telling the doctor, like, if you don't take my kids in, I'm going to drown them in a lake. And so, I mean, there's all kinds of stories out there, but of course, drugs and alcohol can influence people's behaviors to give up their kids.
I think I saw that movie. Again, it's just it's not
No, that was a real life. That was a CASA case when I was a CASA advocate.
sad but true. I mean, okay, so I mean, you do have those incidences where, look, I see it every day, unfortunately, on the news. Which, I mean, I think in LA, there's so many hit and runs, and there's things like, a family was crossing the street and both parents and one child out of three, were killed. Then all of a sudden, you got these two children that are parentless, familyless. And so, yes, do they have other family? I mean, to survive this and all that. And sometimes you don't. I mean, I'm a child of being a single, an only child. I really don't have much family at all. But
Yeah,
these
abuse
tragedies,
often is cyclic. So that's the problem with trying to find kinship or relatives, is that they'll be like, well, this is the way things have always been done, though. We've just always woken up our kids and spanked them in the middle of the night if they had a potty accident, even if they're only two, and so, I mean, just like there's these abusive things that, like, who would even think to harm your kids? That's not helping them with potty training. That's making them more anxious. It's like, but there's just these things, they're just like, well, it was good enough for me, and look how I came out and stuff. Like if they were the ones that weren't the drug addicts in the family with alcohol problems. And so I think just a traditional way of thinking, it's been traditional in some cultures to feed their babies just water, just instead of milk, like to save money and stuff. That's obviously not the nutrition the babies need, but there's just some things that are passed down through families that are definitely, I don't think anybody really evaluates, is this healthy? Is this really the best for our kids? But they think so.
wow. Okay, there's so many facets to this whole deal. I mean, because, and so a lot of kids now, I've heard the best and the worst of both sides. You have loving and caring foster parents who want to be foster parents, and then I've heard stories about foster parents who take the kids in because they get money from the state or wherever they get, and they take them in, and it's not necessarily such a good scene. I mean, true or false? What's the ups and downs of that whole deal?
Well, I was lucky. One out of the 7 placements I was in the 9 months that I was in foster care, it's just like the very first people that took me in are like the salt of the earth to me. So I am very defensive of foster parents because, I mean, you really can get placed with anybody, and it is really a mixed bag. Like, you can be safe. You, as you said when we were talking, like, you think, oh, well, they can have a better family, but it is like playing the lottery of just in general, foster care is not a safe place for kids. I would not let them spend a night there for sure, you know? So I really worry about our foster kids as I see them as really my kids. It's just like little me's of what I went through. I don't relate to my biological kids at all. They're just way too spoiled for that. But it's like foster kids just, oh my gosh, I as a mother cannot handle even one day knowing what's out there. Like when I first went into foster care, it wasn't a foster parent that was corrupt, it was the examining doctor and all the nurses even there. They pretty much molested me during a pap smear that you have to have when you enter foster care. And because I had no guardian, I just really feel like these things just happen when you're in foster care. It's like all these corrupt pedophiles just they target this group, so you're even more in danger when you're in foster care.
Wow. You're so okay. Let's peel it back a little bit, because just so that way our listeners or watchers or lurkers and all the above can understand you. And this happens a lot, and rightfully so, because nobody would understand probably more than you about going through the process and living this. So you yourself went into foster care at what age?
I was actually 16 years old.
So
And
you
I'm
were
telling you,
older.
I was emancipated before the age of 18. That means released from, the government being my guardian early, just because I mean, it was so much bureaucracy just to get a job. You need, when you're under 18, if I was working extra hours, which I was working 3 jobs when I was 17, you need to get the state to approve it. And then your social worker has like 20, 30 cases she's doing at least, I imagine. And it just never comes to her. So I'm like waiting 6 months to get another job, and I'm pretty much homeless, just living with poor people who are kind of taking my paychecks and stuff. I mean, it was like, I was working my butt off, but I don't know. It was just I wasn't even able to get a paycheck for a while just because I couldn't get a hold of my social worker. So I asked to be emancipated early just to get stuff done. Like, let me just get my GED, because I was passed around so much. There's a lot of reasons kids fall behind in school, but that's another thing I'm passionate about.
Well, okay. So where do I begin? So you took so you're almost old enough to be an adult, to be on your own, but yet when you go through the system, obviously the system is low income. You're working through the state, so they're is the state overwhelmed? I mean, and you're in the state of, this was happening in what state?
Actually, I went into foster care in Alabama. My sister went into foster care in Pennsylvania, and my family mostly lives in the Chicagoland area. So
Oh,
I actually think that my dad planned that, like right before he target one of us to just abuse, that like socially isolates us from everybody. It was terrifying.
how do you do that?
You just move us. It'd always be like a job he was going for, and then he'd lose his job within a month and then do nothing but terrorize me. That was my experience, at least.
Do you still talk to your biological parents?
So, it's my birthday. It's part of the reason you have me on the show. Um, my mom actually reached out to me just to say how ungrateful and undeserving I was. It's like, thanks. I can always expect that from my biological mother. Oh my goodness, they're just the most manipulative people. I mean, I was even like, do you want to go on Dr. Phil or something? We can talk this out. I'm like, I try to have a sense of humor, like give her a chance always. I'm always just waiting for my mama to come back and, claim me as her daughter and actually love me properly. But it's like, I want to give her that chance, just like every other kid has this fantasy of their parent actually caring. But she really, I mean, that's the trauma that's occurred to me recently is like my mother was really the manipulative one behind my dad being able to abuse me. Like she knew about it and she would always, brainwash me with the way I should think about it all and stuff. And I mean, it's just horrifying to me when I became a parent, like, wow, was my mom a bad mom? So both of them are just like, I love my parents, but yeah, they really hate me, but they've hated me for a long time, so it's nothing new.
And, well, look, and the thing, here's the thing, and you do you really believe that you don't believe that you're at fault at this, do you?
No, but I
Even
used to.
used to, because that's what they make you to believe. I mean, some people are just not meant to be parents, and yet they keep spitting out kids, and then they start doing all these things, and I mean, and don't get punished for it, and they skate free while doing some, the damage, some damage. Would you say that, certain things that you're just still having a hard time with, or are you one of the chosen few that has been able to just rise above it, which isn't easy?
Are you talking about trauma? Has trauma's affected me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, trauma has affected me. That is something that I've written about, even turning trauma into troubleshooting. I have nearly every kind of trauma imaginable. And what I realized recently is it's like what you said, it just you have to talk about things because there were these family secrets and they still pressure me to just don't embarrass the family and stuff. It's like it wasn't talked about. So really the worst trauma I have was from childhood of just no, this didn't occur like this. Let's reprogram you to think about, what is your version of this, and stuff. And, just to be able to just acknowledge the truth does so much for memory. I mean, if you want to damage your kids' brains, well, my dad did a lot of things too. He would, take me by my hair and throw my head against the wall. It's like who would do that? But it was like he wanted me dead. It was like, no, he was just with his daughters. He was going to sexually abuse us and then just throw us out as trash, but kind of ruin our reputation so nobody cares about us and no one would take us in. I mean, it was just, I was abused. He was like Hitler. He really was. But it was a really hard childhood, but if you survive it, you got to be stronger for it, right?
If you survive it. And I know that there's plenty of people who probably don't. Am I correct?
Yeah, and even like you said, the reclusive, like my sister survived it too technically, but she changed her social security number and name, and she nobody can get a hold of her except for me. I'm lucky about that, but she just has her husband and her 2 kids and nobody else for the last decade
Okay,
or more.
but
She's just very scary.
she managed to get married and have children. The thing is, because I don't even want to get into my end of it, but the thing is that stuff stays with you no matter who you marry or try to do and what. And so, is she functionable, or does she have her moments to where it's like one step over, off of the edge, because that stuff can ruin you as a person. I mean, I see why people do bad things, for after being abused. Like, to me, if they were my parents, they'd either have bullets in them, or I see why bad things could happen to them when enough is enough, and it does happen.
Well, my sister definitely has blocked out memories. I remember things happening to her crystal clear, and she's the one that doesn't remember at all. And even to talk about it's like re-traumatizing her, but she just has not been able to process anything that happened. It is really confusing talking to her sometimes, but I love my sister dearly, and she definitely took the high road as far as, I think it's very sensible with all the trauma that either of us have experienced. I was a recluse for over 10 years myself. I was in a marriage where I wasn't even on the mortgage. It was like I was completely like a protected hidden person. I was so
That's
scared.
what I mean. How do you function as a normal person? Okay, regardless of you get married, let's say you got a great husband, you got a couple of great kids or whatever, but you're still carrying the weight of that, and it's like, how does it not affect you, in your daily life?
Well, for me, I prayed during a lot of that reclusive time, and I do feel like I found some healing. Not really. I really experienced most PTSD in that setting. Just, me with a rocking chair, watching 2 little kids. I raised 2 under 2. And yeah, my brain was just constantly spitting out these memories that I didn't want to think about. I didn't even really remember and stuff. And but yeah, it was just the realization of, wow, my parents were bad intentioned. That's still shocking to me. I don't know. I feel like a lot of parents, if they're healthy brained, we're thinking so much about how to give our kids the very best education, the very best future and college. You know what I mean? It's like we spend a lot of time thinking about that. Why would we be thinking about how do we destroy our kids and damage their brains and throw them out? But I still don't know a lot of the whys, but I've stopped questioning it. It's like in an abuse book, I found a lot of closure in why do people abuse? The same reason why people kill. I mean, abusers abuse, murderers murder. It's just a part of human nature. We have a couple of destructive people in our society.
Did you end up going to therapy?
Yeah, I mean, starting in foster care, that is one of the benefits. You get so used to talking it out. So all growing up, I was like, you couldn't get me to talk about anything personal. But then when you're in foster care, you just have all these strangers that you'd think are weird. They're like, did anybody ever touch you inappropriately? Give me all the details. It's like, who are you? And I'm just a scared kid not knowing who to trust. But there's a lot of counseling, but there's also a lot of pressure just to tell everybody everything. It was not enjoyable because, like, this canon will be used against your parents in the court of law. And I was just always praying, like, God, what do I do? How do I honor my parents in this? And I was still very influenced by their upbringing.
Do you think it helped?
Oh, yeah. I go to counseling still once a week. Just talk therapy. It's very helpful. I see it as releasing all my negativity. One person, it's got to stay private so no gossiping occurs. But then I can be a happier person for everybody and a better mother that way. It's so helpful
Wow.
to me.
When you were in foster care, I don't know, facilities or whatever, was it I would think it'd be most common for one set different foster child, kid, boy, girl to confide in another one. That's like, in other words, like, what are you in for? What are you in for? Was there a lot of that?
What's your story?
Yeah. Well, what was that like?
Well, I thought it was fascinating. Maybe it's part of my love for needing to know everybody's life story in 5 seconds, but oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. That is what made my heart just completely break. There was a group home that was a temporary emergency shelter, something like that. I was on the wait list for the transitional living homes, but it was a mess of bureaucracy there too, like a 5-year wait for, an aging out program where you're going to age out of the system before that anyways. So this promised free place to stay that you're not ever going to get. But anyways, I was the only one there for that, being on the wait list. A lot of the other girls were kicked out of correctional facilities, but they were in foster care too, or there was a couple that were like teenage pregnant girls that got kicked out by their parents. But regardless, that was the roughest place I was at. They had to take off your shoelaces. It is like prison. We were in cells with a hard bed, and I mean, they were rough girls, like picking a fight every day. But I mean, really, it broke my heart. Like the girls I wanted to dislike the most were the ones like, I saw you walking here with diamond earrings, and it was like my foster mom, the one that I told you I like. She had given me diamond earrings, but it just made me so hated among this group that has never had anybody love them. And so when they told me that that's why they were picking on me, it was like somebody loved you, like you're prettier than us or something. But when I really just opened up my heart and not be defensive, it was like, it's like 3 generations of their parents being in foster care. Their mom had them when they were a teen in foster care, that they've only known people who treated them as slaves and stuff, that never came close to loving them as family. And there's different ethnicities sometimes in foster care where there is, like, if you're like a blue-eyed baby boy, there's people fighting for you. But if you're of a different color, I mean, it's like, there's actually different amounts of money that these kids can cost just because they become so rare. It's like you're buying kids. Anyways, I'm kind of still disturbed by that, so I was going off on a rant there, but
It's okay. How did you not turn to drugs and alcohol, or have you, or did you?
I never even smoked a cigarette in my life still. And I only tried weed where it's legal in Colorado or Las Vegas. But not where it's illegal. But I mean, anyways, that was only at 35. I even tried that for the first time. No, I was my attitude was like, everything else is against me. All I can do is keep like my center of control. Like, I'm not going to be a homeless person. I'm not going to mess up my life. Like, all growing up, I was told, you're a bum, you're going to get pregnant, you're going to mess up I mean, it was like so much negativity when I was a straight A student. I had skipped a grade. Like I was always trying my hardest, and I was just told you're a bum, you're a bum, you know. And so, anyways, I even lost my train of thought. What was your question?
The question is, like, after all that, how you didn't self-destruct.
Oh, yeah, I was just wanting, I guess it was some self-love even back then, of just that I believed in myself. And I think my story already broke my own heart of just, I am like the nicest person you ever meet. Seriously, I've never harmed a fly. I try to let them out the back door. It's just like, I did not deserve all this suffering. And really, I think my dad was constantly trying to get me to kill myself and stuff. And it just, oh. I've had so many setbacks, but it was like I've always been this whole like, you know, survivor of just I'm not gonna let it get me down. I'm gonna make something of my life. I'm gonna prove a lot of people wrong. You know, I've always been very stubborn.
How are your parents still together?
Hmm.
And
Yeah, a really
and,
long
and
marriage. It's been
how
probably 4
and
years
so they
together.
just obviously they unfortunately complement each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like this mom I knew growing up was like she wanted this image of being like this perfect 50s housewife, you know, and be a stay-at-home mom, and like she was just perfect and never she was very sweet seeming to people, but
Obviously not.
she could not talk about things, you know. It was just this fake situation. It's like if you try to water, you know, a fake plant, it dies. Like that's the way it'd go. It just nothing. It would just make her from seeming like the sweetest person in the world to she's just this cold-hearted person. Like you'd see a completely different side. But I didn't ever see that side to her because after my sister ran away and went into foster care, my parents really, you know, did a number on trying at first to treat me like, you know, they love me so much, but they did start, you know, abusing me shortly after that. But for a little while there, it just seemed like I was their little angel that they spoiled and I could do no wrong. But I just saw that they had this scheme because if people were like, two of your kids go into foster, because he called my sister evil, he called her a whore, he called her like, and she was like this innocent, she was popular, but she was like 11, and it was just horrible the way he'd speak about her. And my mom was so cold. I remember just begging her to just, can't you just love my sister? Like, I know you're really nice to me, but I don't understand why she can't ride her bike, why you tell me she's manipulative and to stay away from her. Like, she was just so mean to her own daughter.
How after all this, okay, it's obvious there's two. How many kids in the family?
There was four of us.
Four. Where'd the other two go?
So they're both boys.
Yeah.
And they were treated very differently. So I'm actually half Middle Eastern. I mean, again, I don't believe like all Arab men are terror. Like, do you feel like there's a bad rap? Like, my uncle is a very nice, gentle, heroic community helper person, but yeah, my there's always that one in the family, right? No matter which culture you're from, and
Okay.
he was so the
How
oldest boy was like carrying on the family name, you know, and you need him to be this manly man, tough guy. And then my other brother, he always just labeled as this missionary pastor, and so he became that. Like, he paid for him to go to Wheaton College, and they still support him financially.
are you still friends with them?
Um,
That's a no.
there's
That's
some more family stuff there, but I mean, when one brother tried to say happy birthday to me.
Didn't they know?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. My dad marketed himself like Bill Cosby, right? Like, he was this super honest family man, and I mean, he'd make those jokes like we're not worth the money and stuff like that, but um he just was always about people treating him with respect. And now we know like Bill Cosby did have a similar personality, but he just, you know, since we were so young, people don't realize how influential your parents are to you. That I think because I knew this was a lie, I knew that they're making this stuff up, is I was there. Um, but they didn't 100%. Like, why would they just be so mean to you and Lisa, but not us and stuff? And I
Yeah, but
mean,
Look, the difference between Bill Cosby was getting laid with strangers, if that's all true. This is family. This is a father with his own daughters, or and your, what's the age of your two brothers? How far apart are all you?
We were all about 2 years apart.
Okay. But everybody was under the same roof, correct?
Hmm.
Okay, because it just aggravates me, because how the hell did they
They
get off?
knew. Like, my brother had a really hard time. Oh my gosh, you're gonna give me so much trouble. My
No,
brother had a hard
no,
time. So,
trouble. There's no trouble.
but
You're telling
he
the truth.
would. I saw a different side of my brother than most too, because he is this really sociable, funny guy. But whenever I was alone with him, he'd ask me, "What's the real truth of what hung with dad?" And I would say, I tell him, and then he'd be like, "I'm gonna burn this place down." But I was like, "It's just the truth. I do not lie. I'm sorry." And so he got on the phone with my dad, with me there, and my dad says, he starts crying, and he goes, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. You don't know what it's like to be me. My daughter's very beautiful." And and my brother heard this. He didn't cry or no emotion. He's just like, "Oh, okay." And then he goes, "Okay, you can go." So that was the second to last time I've ever seen him. I was like just running from my mind, like, okay, I survived that. But it is very hard in their defense of just, we've had a lot of family drama, and it is hard for any of us to process it. So I really don't blame either of my brothers for anything. It wasn't their responsibility to protect me or to rebel against my dad so that he'd abuse them or anything. But I do for my mom. My mom was fully
Right.
responsible.
Okay. Yeah, she's in on the whole. It's like loving Charles Manson, as
Hmm.
far as I'm concerned. It's
When
the
I
same thing.
watch like killer stories, they really did have like a serial killer mentality of just like, she's the undercover one thing, helping him get away with it. She would get church daughters that are like really innocent and young to spend the night in my parents' house. They just say, "Oh, we miss our daughter so much," and
Yeah.
then they tell me, so I rushed to try to save save the little virgin girls. I was just so traumatized by it all, of just like, they can't go to jail. Like, I mean, I told the honest truth, and they didn't go to jail. And so I try to just stay around just to help protect neighborhood kids. But do not let your kids just go stay the night at some creepy old couple's house, is
Well,
my
here's the thing.
advice.
Okay, so is it fair enough to say your father's a piece of shit? I mean, he really, no, regardless. I mean, just call a spade a spade. He did the unthinkable. It's just unthinkable.
I feel like you have this impression that abuse happens in like really poor neighborhoods, right? My dad is an
No.
MBA in finance, and he is a very smart man. I mean, I feel like those make the worst abusers. Like, if you're a dumb abuser, you go to jail. But he just, like, that's with me. After, my sister went into foster care, he would abuse me like crazy, but it was always like even physically, like he'd throw me downstairs, but he'd do it by my hair. Like, he'd lift me by my hair, drag me down and if you left any bruises on me anywhere else, like, he wouldn't let me go to school. And so, I mean, it was just like, he was really smart about leaving any evidence. But I mean, we lived in more affluent neighborhoods a lot of the time. But I mean, people don't realize that abuse is just as common. But you don't know how many stories go on. It's just like the secret. If families have money, there are so many stories of like moms and stepfathers, but they cover up a stepdad because he's got a lot of money. I mean, it's everywhere, even among very respected people. I have seen these
It
stories.
doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right, though. I mean,
No.
this is some pretty screwed up stuff. And the fact that you survived it and are still functionable is amazing. Period.
Mhm.
You pat yourself on the back, because I don't see how the hell you survive this kind of stuff. It just
That's why
doesn't,
I'm writing books and public speaking about it, because yes, it's been a full-time job overcoming all this trauma.
well, then you keep on speaking about it, because people need to know, and to call out these pieces of shit, that because I'm assuming that your father is still, skating free.
Yeah, that's why I don't speak to that brother, because they once again asked me for my story, because they have their daughter sharing a room with their brother because they're staying at their house, and they're like, because of what you said. And I warned them very much, like, if you really need to visit with them like once a year during the holidays, don't spend the night, because they both have daughters. And then they do the opposite and say, oh, well, we're poor missionaries, we need to stay with them and stuff. And so their daughters would spend the night. They said that my parents would insist that in order to even sponsor them. And then they'd ask me again for my story. I'm like, I have told you this. I'm like, if you don't care about your kid, I don't care about your kid. And I block them. So
I know,
I
but
could lose my temper about it. I do care about their kid, but what
it's
am I
sad.
supposed to do about it?
It's sad. All right, look, real quick, okay, look, because I want let's jump. In the meantime, I want you to tell me about your organization that you started. But while you're telling me that, I want, just in case. I mean, I got phone lines and I got people that call in, and I don't normally do. I mean, they like to watch and they're listening. Believe me, they are listening and watching. But in the event that somebody wants to call in and ask you a question, will you take a phone call if they call in?
I love talking to people. Yes, always.
Okay. So while I put up the phone number, 818-259-7983, if you want to talk to Cheryl, if you got a question, if you got a comment, anything, call the number, 818-259-7983. And in the meantime, I want you to start telling me about your organization. Now, I don't have phone screeners. It's not in the budget. But while you're talking to me, if somebody should call in, I'm going to interrupt you and we'll take a phone call. But in the meantime, I want you to tell me about your organization, when you started it and what you're doing and how you're doing it, so people will know. And through the week, I'll post it even better. But right now, I want you to tell me about that, okay?
Okay. So as I said, I was given diamond earrings, but really also a clarinet too. This foster family had gotten for me, and it really touched my heart and made me feel loved. And I just saw the dire need for it when people are at their lowest. I mean, these kids are very vulnerable. They don't have family. They don't, I mean, it's like they're almost Job from the Bible, like suffering. They don't have anything to hold on to. And a lot of them do have mental health issues, at the very least, because of all this trauma. And so I just thought we need to give them a gift. We need to see them and hear them and know that they exist and show them love, just to even keep them from suicide. The suicide rates are super high. And so, yeah, it was just like, first I was just thinking any old gift, but something personalized to them. I hated the dollar store gifts of a church sponsoring me. It was like, they don't know me. I don't even care about this plastic cross. It's like, you don't want to throw it. It really actually made me cry. Like, nobody knows me, nobody cares, nobody loves me. But my organization is about people who know of a foster kid, like foster parents, social workers, those that run agencies, anybody who, has eyes, ears, sees a foster kid. Could be teachers, and they want to personalize something that they think will really spark some creativity and love for learning and just love. But they're all educational toys that we send out. So if they have interests or delays or know what career they want, we really personalize. I personalize it. I send them out every night before bed. I get to pick out these personalized toys, and I mean, I know that it makes a difference because I've been there. But yeah, all the responses I get thank you cards nearly every day. Just just the creative gift. It meant such. A lot of kids cry like, my mom doesn't love me, but somebody else does. And I mean, I know it's still kind of sad, but I really think that you don't even know how it's the little things that can send a signal, like maybe God sees me, maybe somebody cares, and it can really just at least help you get through the hard times. But hopefully we're nourishing them. They can keep getting referrals over and over again. Like, if something really didn't strike their fancy or whatever, we'll just keep sending them out while they're in foster care or when they're newly adopted to help families bond together. I do have an early education degree, so it helps in picking them out.
How do you find these? I mean, okay, so how are you raising money? Just how are you raising the money to help these kids?
Really, I mean, I started this right before COVID, so the mail delivery aspect that I was planning on doing anyways worked out really well. But I wasn't born in this world knowing anybody or, having any money. And so I've worked really hard to establish relationships with people that care. And I mean, it was really like Facebook was like the low hanging fruit. Even established nonprofits were really struggling. And I really think that the nonprofit really thrived beyond my imagination. Even that first year, I was invited out to LA to talk to celebrities even about it. Like a lot of people was like, this is a really good idea. Like we have toys sometimes during Christmas time, but what about educational toys? And I mean, I was just surprised by all the strangers that just thought this was something worth supporting. So Facebook has definitely been so instrumental in this. So I hope this helps get to more people and just realize that it is expensive picking out toys for, hopefully we can start reaching more of the 500,000, that comes out. But in order to get that, we'd have to hire staff so that I'm not just the only one picking out toys for all these. Is I don't want to take a paycheck for this. It's just something I enjoy doing, like they're my own kids. But yeah, money definitely helps us help these kids.
Okay, but it starts with one, and you are the one.
And the chosen one.
Well, regardless, I mean, you didn't have to step up to say, I want to help the future. You've lived it, you survived it. You could move on and go, look, I don't even want to think about this stuff anymore. I want to just move on. But you stepped up, and you are devoting yourself and your time and your effort to help others, because you know exactly what the hell they're going through, if not worse. And yet you're giving your time. How do people find to get a hold of you?
So Cheryl at fundfc.org is my email. I am on Instagram, Cheryl Elizabeth, and also Facebook, Cheryl Williams, the foster care lady on Facebook. And the nonprofit, I would really appreciate giving a like to and following us at the Fundamentals for Foster Care. This is our symbol, so you can see all the hearts. I'm a heart person.
Gotcha. I have a banner. I don't know if you can see it on your end. I have a banner that says at fundfc.org. Is that a good way to get a hold of you?
Your banner. I didn't see.
Well, it's okay. But believe me when you see the show, because the show will live on, and that's the whole beauty of this. But I got people, telling me right now, major props for stepping up and trying to make a difference, and with everybody's love and support. I hope that you'll just keep on doing this, because I imagine you're probably just scratching the surface, because of the numbers.
Yep. I mean, I'm just always embrace opportunity, and so if it happens where we reach people that just have a lot of money, that really, really care about children and can help that cause, like I just want to do great things in touching these kids' lives and go on to speak at schools and foster care group homes and encourage these kids of exactly how to do it, step by step. Like, you don't have to be a genius. This is how to walk through the darkness, with your head up.
Where do you find these kids, and I mean, how do you go about finding them and knowing that what you're doing is going to get to them and help them, and your money and time doesn't get diverted into corrupt pockets? I mean, because I'm sure there's plenty of that too.
Oh, well, I mean, a lot of people don't actually know how to do the referral thing. It's through Partnerships for Children. Here in Texas, they have rainbow rooms all through hours, like warehouses for kids, and local nonprofits like Austin Angels here gave us a ton, like most of our referrals during COVID. And Chelsea's charity, we've just teamed up with a bunch of different foster care nonprofits in our first year and fundraised with them and stuff for back to school supplies and stuff like that. So it's these foster care agencies that really care about the kids, and I love that we were just all working together because we all do a little bit different of a thing. So they know what I do and a lot of others don't. So I mean, if I ever spread real big where there's just strangers that know, I think it's more at risk. But for a little while, I did require them to show the proof that they're the educational decision maker for the kids. And just foster parents are so busy. I mean, anyone that's going to reach out and just it's almost like I ask, where did you hear about this from? And so then I can legitimate, are they foster parents, or I can ask them for. But it is just through the foster care network that I've even advertised, and so it's just word of mouth of just who's received them and who you should, the website is just, yeah. It's good that we're not
Okay.
very well known yet, but
No,
we
no.
will start requiring the paperwork if it gets unreasonable
I'm
amounts.
just saying that I mean, even the system is corrupt. You put, and I'm sorry, I have this dark side of me that goes, you know what? You're taken into somebody who claims they want to take you and help you, and yet you get thrown into another dungeon. And because I've seen it, I've heard it, I've witnessed it, and not everyone is as loving and caring as you would hope they would be. Everybody's got an angle. Not everybody, but some people do, and so you think you're jumping out of the fire, but you're going into somebody else's frying pan, and that's where the destruction just keeps on giving. And Jeffrey Epstein, can vouch for that. And so I don't trust, because I know how corrupt everything is, but there are tons of loving people out there, and God bless those people. And I'm just asking these questions because I know it's happening out there, that people can tell you, I went to this family and it was worse than where I was, and I ran away from them. I've heard these stories. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. Following directions.
You don't think that there's ever a dark side to that either?
Can you repeat it one more time? Remember, this is like 2 hours past my bedtime. I have kids that go to sleep at 8 p.m. usually.
That's okay, because I don't remember where I'm at either. What I'm saying is, anybody wants to call in, last chance, 818-259-7983. No, I know. Call this girl. I mean, give her whatever, a pat on the back or a question or anything. Look, I got look. By tomorrow, I'll start getting comments about how I loved your show, Peter. She was friggin' amazing. I just didn't want to call. It makes me nervous. People are scared to call in. I mean, just like you said, you were kind of nervous. You're just starting to do these live shows. You're doing great, by the way. But people are the same way. They just want to watch. I have the greatest lurkers in the world. I'm proud of them for watching, but I wish they would contribute a little bit just to solidify the seriousness of this matter. So 818-259-7983, or I'm taking the number down, and we're going to finish up with Cheryl, because she's given me more than enough of her time. The question I was asking you was, I know that every child wants to get at least fostered into a better situation than being held by the state or the city or whatever. But there are those situations where children go from a bad situation to a worse situation. Is that not true? Some families are not very good. They're doing it for money or extortion, however you want to write it out. Am I wrong?
You're wrong. People just love to talk about this dirty side. Are there foster parents that do it for money? Yes, I lived with one, okay? But you don't realize that you barely get enough to cover their expenses, and it is, how could that be the norm? There's so many other ways to make money in this world. It's just, no, I am on a biased side, but from most of the stories that I've heard, I find that foster care is often a worse situation. That just that experience of even getting bounced from home to home, feeling rejected, is very traumatizing. But the people that adopt, they have to go through a process that I wish biological parents had to in order to have kids. And it's expensive to adopt. It is. It's not expensive to foster parent, but you're adopting a kid forever. I'm telling you, these people are the salt of the earth. You almost never find a better situation, which is why I always almost hope that the parents, that sounds awful. I have people that come at me that are like, how can you want your kids taken away? Well, it's just, they did something. I have heard of extreme situations. The government really does not go around wanting to take on the financial burden. It's not an emergency.
I'm talking about the fostering, the in-between people, not the adoption,
Okay.
the in-between people. That's where I'm talking, because I've heard stories.
I just feel like that's still evil, because there's still so many quality foster parents needed. And why would people want to give up their time, their home, possibly their safety? They don't know what kid they'll get in and how it could possibly wreck their family. And they're doing this risk, and it's like, often people are very good-hearted, but I feel like the very pure people are scared off by it, because everybody's looking at me like I'm a bad person when they're doing one of the most loving things they could do for these kids.
Michelle. Michelle. I'm sorry. Cheryl, hang on 1 second. Hey, you're on Life with Peter G. Who's this?
Peter G. It is Mike.
Hi, Mike. What do you have a question for Cheryl?
Well, I just want to say to Cheryl, she's doing an amazing job. I think it's wonderful what she's doing. And I do want to agree with Peter, though. I'm 62, and I mean, I've seen when I was younger foster parents that brought in foster kids and molested them and did things. So there are some bad ones out there, and do it for their own motivations or satisfaction.
My point, did you get my point though, is that we still need it to almost be advertised that we need more of these. When this message goes out there, I don't want to be a foster parent. I'm scared that people are going to make up stories about me or something. But, it's just that you're under the public eye with a magnifying glass when you're doing, if you're doing something with a pure heart. I'm just saying it's an extra burden that I feel like foster parents go crazy in the process of doing it. It's a very hard job, and you're not even given the props of like, hey, good job taking in that kid and trying to give him a better life.
Well,
right. But I understand what you're saying, but there are, you have to agree, there are, even if it's 1 out of 10,
right.
There's definitely a lot of abuse and pedophiles. Like I said, as soon as you go into foster care, you get that.
Michael, I'm going to let you go. The phone's ringing now. Finally, I want to take these calls.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, brother.
All right. Keep it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, you're on with Life with Peter G. Who's this? Turn your radio off. Hello. You're on.
Hi.
Hi. You got a question for Cheryl?
Yeah, my name is Linda Pitsoulis, and I know Cheryl through Facebook. Hey, how's it going?
She saw my advertisement on one of those foster care ones.
Amen. What you got for Cheryl?
Yeah, you're doing fabulous. Thank you so much for being the voice for the children and for the foster parents. I myself, my name is Linda Pitsoulis. I think, Peter, you might be Greek here, huh?
Oh, how'd you figure that out?
Greek. ASISOS last name.
There you go.
But of course, there are bad apples in the foster care system as well. But Cheryl is there to also advocate for the system, right? So this is a perfect opportunity for people to open their hearts and consider opening their homes, because we really need more people to take care of these 500,000 kids.
That's true.
And I'm not for the foster care system. I'm here for the kids, and it's definitely in the kids' best interest to, want the reputation to be that foster parents are the salt of the earth.
Right, and we need more homes. 500,000 kids divided up among, a limited number does them a disservice as well. So, but I think you're doing a beautiful job. I'm right there with you. I'll be going out doing public speaking myself soon. So, God bless you. Just keep up the great work, Peter. Yeah, spread this.
She introduced me to this Dream Summit. That was amazing. People collaborate to make dreams come true, and that got me the video guy. Anyways, great people. She's great people.
Well, again, Linda, thank you for taking the time to pay attention. That's where it all starts. So all I can ask from you is that this show's going to live on forever, and you take these shows and things like this and you share them to bring awareness. We're all interconnected in this. I started from Facebook, because I believe in Facebook people. I saw people who were prayers. I lost a parent. Prayers, who so-and-so is going through surgery. This is what I ate yesterday. And people really care. And I told myself, I'm going to pay attention to people who, Facebook, because it's, everybody wants to be heard. And this is a cause that needs to be heard. It didn't occur to me up until about a month ago. But when it finally hit me, I said, you know what? I'm going to give this girl a call and see if she wants to come on the show and talk about this and express herself. And she was willing to do it. So long as somebody's willing to talk about the good and the bad, because we have to share that, because life's not a bowl of cherries. And there's pros and cons. And people like you who are willing to call in, this is why we do what we do. But you have to share the music. You know, you have to share the story. So
It actually is very, very
Thank-
common, even incest. You don't know how many people have told me privately that even their parents did. I mean, it's just not talked about. These are our family secrets, but it actually is pretty common, and I do think more people should be willing to speak up. I know it doesn't feel safe to do it, but it's just how do people, how could you possibly survive PTSD well if you're having to keep these secrets inside and deny that they occur for your brain to work? It just gets too confusing. Like, it actually really does help to just talk it out and not be afraid. And you got to survive.
not everybody thinks like that. Linda, any closing comment or anything for Cheryl before I try to take one more call after this?
No, go for it. You're doing great. Love you, girl.
There you
Thank
go.
you, Peter.
Love it. Love is
Bye-bye.
love is what we need. So thank you. Bye-bye. Well, love. I think it really is. I mean, I've always said this. I mean, as I've gotten older, it really is about love. We need to love.
In my nonprofit, I do get so many referrals from foster parents, and that has really done my heart a lot of good because it's mostly foster parents that refer them, which means that they're taking the time to care. They don't have to be advocating and filling out a form and, trying to get their kids toys. I mean, I don't send them out to all of them. I do try to verify that they're in the foster care system. But yeah, I appreciate foster parents so much. They've actually, but I do think it's the salt of the earth again who really care that will fill out the form.
I have to play devil's advocate because I know this stuff goes on. I'm not saying it. People tend to, no matter how much good you do, everybody always remembers the one thing you screwed up. It's just humanity, human nature. And no matter what you do, you could be the greatest thing for 10, 20 years. You make one mistake and all of a sudden that's the focal point. And that's the problem with the system. The system is tough, and it's low budget and people get numb. These social workers, they make little to nothing and they're overloaded and it's hard. And I truly understand that. So when I ask you like the tougher questions, I'm not asking it to be mean. I just, you need to be aware.
We need to talk about the tougher questions. Somebody's got to be talking about it. Something else that really frustrates me is the group home thing. The Texas ruled that foster care is unconstitutional, but especially the group homes, which I can agree with. But my group home experience was the worst. Like I said, you were in prison, and but it's just that if you make where they're unconstitutional, therefore illegal. I was wanting to start up a group home, but they made that impossible to do that. So that just didn't make sense to me because I was trying to start off a higher quality foster home that had built-in education and cooks and but there's so many kids without a home, period. Like a lot stay at CPS a lot of the time. And so just to want to take a bunch in to help more than one at a time. And it was like, they made it impossible to have a nonprofit that did that. And so it's like, I feel like maybe somebody thinks that they care when these judges rule this, but it's like, obviously they do not have the true empathy of being in the system and just understanding if you cut off funding for group homes, where are these kids going? They're literally homeless then. They have nowhere then.
Right. Well, look, it's not easy. There's no doubt about that. Look, I'm going to leave it. One more call, and then we're done. Anybody wants to call right now, I'll pay attention. I promise. If the phone's, I'll pay attention because the phone's off to my right, and I was focusing on you, and because again, I think everything you're telling me is very compelling. Anybody's got one last phone call for Cheryl, and then we're going to wrap it up because time has flown. You've done an hour when you thought it was going to be really, really hard, and look how well you've done. You should be proud of yourself.
I'm surprised you got so much out of me. You are very easy to talk to, maybe a little too much, but
yeah. Well, I'll tell my creditors that. I'm very, very easy to talk to, but I need a bigger show. But either way, whether somebody calls in or not, the thing is, you're doing God's work. I mean, it's not easy. And these again, I love children and whatever, teenagers, whatever. I don't believe any of them deserve this. And that's the problem. They're getting such a shit hand and they don't deserve it. And
the kids
just like you,
you're
smart.
None of them
You're
do.
smart. and you're attractive and you've worked your ass off and you're still struggling to get, to help others on top of it. It's like you're doing God's work. That's all I can tell you. I mean, I don't flaunt
I
religion.
appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah. Well, no, you deserve it. And I will do this for
keep
anybody.
Rising and rising.
Well, if I keep rising and rising, you'll know because you're a part of me now. I mean, we are. Now we're connected even more than ever. And I want you to take this show and do whatever you can with it. And if you ever need anything from me and I can do it, don't be afraid to ask.
You too. I'm not a user, so just reach out.
It's not about you. It's about supporting each other. It's not about you.
Support.
Well, mutual support. It is that. Again, I didn't know you when you came to LA to do your runway walk for that event. But you were on my Facebook page, and I don't even know how we got connected. I have no idea, but we do. And we are. And this is what I'm telling you. Life works in very weird ways. I've got people that have been on my show and it took 2 years to get them on my show. And once we were on, it was magic. And so I believe that, again, we are both here for a reason. And I'm very proud of you for, again, it's not easy. My life has not been the greatest life, but I did have loving parents, even though we'd yell at each other and things like that.
I always want to do this. Like, all growing up, people were like, wow, your family makes me feel so lucky about myself. And I'm like, oh, I just exist to make you feel better. I get so upset. No. I'm glad to hear.
What child, even through divorce, what child wants their parents to be splitting up? No child wants that. Life is just the way it is.
See, I'm very lucky. My parents are still together.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, no, I don't think you're lucky. I think you would have been better off if they. And I didn't want to get into that.
Oh my gosh, that's my dream.
All right, listen. I love you for being brave enough to tell your story and to talk about things. I want you to tell one more time how people can get a hold of you and your organization, so that way you never know who we're reaching. I have no idea the people we reach. So please give them a shout.
I see your banner. It's actually Cheryl at fundfc.org. Just drop the Williams. You can email. You can find me on Facebook. I do like meeting people on Facebook, because then you can be like friends and really get to know people. Or the nonprofit page if you just want to support the nonprofit.
That's what I'm saying. Just tell them what this was just a generic. The at Fund
Facebook
FC
is like /fundfc.org is our Facebook page.
Give me the most wanted site. If I said give me one place you want people to contact you, where would you want them to contact you at?
Well, you can find me on the website fundfc.org and email me.
There it is, right there, fundfc.org. I just happened to put the foster care lady so that they knew your name was Cheryl Williams, and they can find you at fundfc.org. How's that?
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Listen, again, I'm gonna reiterate. I love you for being brave enough, because you were kind of iffy when we first talked a few days ago. But you did it. I just
want to honor my father and mother.
No, you don't. No, you don't. They don't deserve shit. They don't deserve, you honoring the kids.
I'm like, if they didn't wanted to get out, they shouldn't have done it. They were really bad parents. I learned a lot.
But they did what they did. They did what they did, and they deserve to be friggin' just run over and painfully run over. I'm sorry. That's the way I feel. But you survived, and this is for all the survivors who want to survive. That's what this is all about. So thank you.
Much love.
Okay. All right, listen. Tell everybody good night, and then I'm going to let you go and finish up the show.
Good night. My name is Cheryl Williams at fundfc.org. Cheryl at fundfc.org. So contact me. Let's be in touch. I love to make new friends. And don't be a stranger.
There you go. Don't be a stranger. All right. Again, you can find her on Facebook, Instagram, all of the above, all that fun stuff.
Donate so I can do it full time and help more kids.
Wow, I got people losing their nerve to call. It's like, how do you lose your nerve to call in? It's not like I'm looking at you.
They said that.
Yeah, you don't know the kind of crowd I have. I'm
going to be calling in all the time now that I know.
Oh, sure. Famous.
Asking your guests all the tough questions. I love to get people on the spot.
Don't threaten me with a good time. If I had a nickel for everybody who threatened me that they're going to call in, I could retire already. So let's let it go. All right, listen, you go. I know it's past your bedtime. I'm going to wrap it up, and I got lots of hours to go before we finish up this whole format. But don't forget, you're going to be all over Facebook, all over LinkedIn, all over Instagram, all over where are we at? Even TikTok, I think. So there'll be pieces. You take this stuff and you use it to your best. All right.
All right. I have to create a
All
TikTok
right,
account.
ladies and gentlemen,
Bye.
Miss Cheryl Williams, the foster care lady, right there in the flesh. So you get a hold of her. There you go. Love you. See you later. Wow. I don't care how much I bitch about the problems in life, but growing up as a child and having shitty parents that abuse you, there's no words. No words. Because I look at my daughter, I couldn't even imagine that, because I every day, because even though she's not with me every day, but I still go and pick her up. We live very close to it. My ex lives right down the street. And I pick her up. I get up almost every day to take her to do her horse chores and all that. And I look at her, and it's just, and she's 15 and a half, almost 16. And it's like, I could not love anything more in my life than her. And it just kills me because she sees me, and she's, I'm kind of vulnerable around her. I'm like mush because she's a good kid. She's a great child. I don't know what the hell I did. I mean, everything else went crazy. But when it came to the child department, this one and only child that I have, I adore. And she gives me no reason not to. And I'm telling you, I almost tear up looking at her because I'm so thankful. I thank God every day that part of my life went straight, just held together. Because kids, and there could be all kinds of problems. Number one, she's healthy. She's got all her fingers. Everything's working. Not everybody gets that. And you'll still love that child to death. And then you got these few friggin' parents that are pieces of shit that abuse. And it bothers me a lot. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, Cheryl Williams, foster care lady. She's the founder at Fundamentals for Foster Care at fundfc.org. If anybody's got a heart and you have that need and you want to help children, contact her. Thank you. Wow. If you guys think this is easy, this stuff eats me up. It really does. Eats me up a lot. Speaking of which, if you want to be a guest on this show, please, I'm asking you to contact us. info@petergshow.com. info@petergshow.com. This sucked the life out of me. And in a lot of ways, it's just like, I get emotionally involved in this crap. It's not crap. It's just, everybody lives their lives and they go walking on, and that's that. But if you want to be a guest on this show, if you think you have a story that's worth telling, and please run it by me, because a lot of people think, no, that's not. But let me be the judge. Yeah, that's it. Linda said, just donate. Let people like Cheryl figure out how to take care of these kids. You don't have to figure out how to take care of them. But then again, if you are a family who wants to take in kids, and there are those people, and a lot of them, you should contact her for that kind of stuff too. But money is important. It's important for everything. So donate, and she'll put that money where it needs to go. She's lived it, she's survived it, and she's willing to spend her life for helping. Calm down, Paul. Calm down. We'll talk about that during the week. Yeah. Anyway, my name is Peter G. You're watching Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show. I'm asking you to subscribe. We're growing. It's getting out of control right now, but money makes the world go round. It takes money to keep this show going, and money to keep organizations going, like Cheryl's. And I'm proud to be able to say that I was here to be able to let her speak her piece and voice her voice for foster care. Because again, I know I'm going to tell you, and we got to go. God bless it. We're running over time again. More time. I got a text while I was doing a show when I was ranting from a very close friend of mine. And he's texting me during the show on my personal cell phone. And he doesn't watch the show very much, but we are pretty damn close. We don't see each other a lot, but we have a lot of history. Probably almost 40 years. Crazy. We knew each other when we were in the womb. And he's, Peter, what the hell are you doing? Because I was getting kind of political because we're living in a political world right now, and he didn't agree with it. And life is short. And again, if you want to voice your opinion, come on this show and talk about it. Most people that oppose what I talk about will not come on this show and voice their opinion because they don't have any answers to back anything up. And all I'm saying is, don't judge me for bringing things out to most people's attention. I'm trying to bring things to people's attention, just like this show today. So share it. If you give a shit, you'll share it. I love you. As always, thank you for watching the Peter G Show. I do. More than anything, I want you to share. We have to grow. I'm ready. I'm at the point where it's like it's getting hard to handle. I need to be at another level. But in the meantime, I'll keep on doing what I'm doing because I love what I do, and I love you for watching what I do. I need you to share it so we can get bigger, better. I'm not going to say build bigger, better, because you see how that's going this past 9 months. We're driving ourselves into the freaking ground. All the more reason to stick with me. Stick with me. I'm not going away. Stick with me. I love you. Be kind. Don't take a bunch of shit from people. You don't have to be an asshole. Love that word, asshole. Pretty much tells you right where we're at. You don't have to be an asshole. But you don't have to take a bunch of shit from people either. Life is short, and it's getting shorter. But I love you. I do. I honestly do. I would not spend the time, the effort, and the work. And believe me, it's just for this lousy hour and a half, it's all week long to get to this point again. Wash, rinse, repeat. Let's go. Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, I want to get funny right now, but I'm not because I'm the seriousness is just, I'm beside myself. So I thank you. All right. Next week, I want to see you next week. I'm not going to tell you what's going on next week because I just want you to be here. Okay. Take what I give you because whatever I give you, if I'm putting it on this show, it's worth it. And next week would just, God bless it. Next week just might be worth it. But actually, it will be worth it. Every week is worth it, right? So, from my house to yours, I love you guys as always. And my name is Peter G. And I want you to just have a good week. I hope I'm going to see everybody at the same time next week, all right? As always, peace out. Love you guys.
Peter G Show.